Today, a brand new RC airplane that just came out on the channel. All right guys, this is our review, our follow-up review to our FPV version of this review. If you just want to see this plane fly without all the extra weight on there, you want to see it fly line of sight from the ground with no onboard footage, we're just going to fly this from the parking lot, the same exact parking lot on the same exact day with this little MN-I6X transmitter. So running on 2.4 gigahertz today, and throttles on the left, it's in mode 2. Extra wide landing gear, which is freaking awesome for beginners. So if you're a brand new beginner, this is really nice. It also comes with this USB charger, so all I do is plug it into a USB port there, plug this into the balance connector on the battery. It should charge up probably in like an hour's time. This is a 2S 650 milliamp battery, and I have it right where they have the Velcro, so it should be nice CG for all of the wings and everything. So in this review, also what we're gonna do is we're gonna use the flight controller. We're gonna use the two flight modes on here, low and high. And in low, it gives us a stability, and in high, it'll let us do rolls, flips, and loops and things like that. So we'll give that a shot. And on this side, we have an arm switch, which puts the throttle into a low kind of spool up. So when you land, don't forget to disarm it, and that way it'll stop moving. But it's nice that it keeps moving for you when you're in the air at low stick, so it keeps the nose up. Let's go ahead and try it out. I'm gonna put the top on here, and we're gonna fly it without FPV. So I'm gonna turn on the transmitter first, and we're just gonna plug in the airplane now with the JST connector. Kind of has a groove there, so it kind of shows you where to plug in, so you can't possibly plug it in backwards for reverse polarity. That would be super bad. Let it sit for a sec, let it stabilize. Right now we're in low mode, and I can arm it by going to green, and that will bring a low idle right there on that brushless motor. So we're gonna go ahead and let's just show you it taxiing around. And I'm gonna put it in high mode so that we can turn a little faster. You'll see that these have full movement now on the surfaces. Now, if I switch it back into low, look how slow the rudder moves. See that? Just barely moving. And now I have stability helping out from the 6-axis gyro on board. So I'm gonna go ahead and switch back into high mode now, and I should be able to turn sharper. See how much sharper I can turn? And then without that, kind of makes it easier to taxi around and get in position for my takeoff. So I'm gonna go ahead and go back to that high mode now, and let's go ahead and taxi out. We're gonna arm it, and I'm gonna get in my takeoff position. This is much better for just kind of taxiing around on the ground. Isn't that cool? It'll turn a tight circle like that. All right, so we can take off in manual mode, or we can take off in stability. It takes a longer time to get off the ground in stability, so we're just gonna do a couple different takeoffs here for you so that you can see. Uh-oh, we're stuck. So now we're gonna go ahead and take off. Let's take off in stability mode first, and I'll show you how long it takes to get off the ground. So probably about 15 feet. Now it's auto stabilizing right now, so I can let go of the sticks. It's just flying straight with throttle right in the middle. Throttle's on the left in mode 2, and I'm gonna make it bank to my left, and I'm gonna kind of come back toward myself. So if you're brand new to flying RC airplanes, I have to give you some big advice. When you're coming back at yourself like this, left is right and right is left. Everything line of sight is backwards. So if I press right on the stick, the plane's gonna bank to my left. You see that? If I press left on the stick, the plane's gonna bank to the right. You can give it a little bit of rudder as well with aileron. It'll make it turn a lot faster. So let's bring it back a little bit closer now, and let's try out that pesky, naughty manual mode. Okay, here we go. This is pure line of sight RC airplane flying right here. This is no stability. If you don't know how to fly an RC airplane, you may crash when you first try this. You want to keep your throttle up above half stick. So if you're using this as a tutorial and you bought this plane, good for you. Now, I'm kind of always pushing down on the stick a little bit to keep the nose up in this full manual mode. And right now I'm about 3/4 throttle with the wind that I have. So it's a little bit bumpy up top, which means I really have to be on the sticks. I give it a little bit of rudder there, come back around, and let's come over closer and we'll try to do our first loop. Full throttle on the way up, let off about half stick once you get around. Now back around. Let's do a buzz the tower pass here. Nice. Little knife edge there. Look at that. It wants the knife edge. That's awesome. Uh-oh, getting in trouble. Getting in trouble. Full throttle, baby. Get up there. Get up there. We are out of battery, maybe. Let's go check it out. Now, here's some other advice. If you're a beginner, try to find a field that has some nice tall grass like this, because when you do go in for a crash, oops, I forgot to disarm it. That's a good thing that the propeller's not in the front, because I might have burned up the ESC or broken the prop doing that. So yeah, it helps if you find a field with nice tall grass. You know, it's going to be harder to find a plane if it's way out there, but you kind of can momentarily arm it and try to power it up a little bit. If you're kind of a tip, you can either break the prop, but you could also find the plane. So yeah, that may help you out a lot to find the plane. It doesn't have any kind of beeper on here, so it's up to you to be able to find it line of sight. Now for FPV, same thing. It's going to be probably harder to do, but you should always record every flight. That way you can go back and look at your DVR to find out where the plane went. So let's go ahead and check out the battery's voltage, and we'll try to get this back in the air on this super windy day. It's really windy up top for this little guy. Okay, so we have a new battery in there. Let's go ahead and put it in high mode so I can taxi, and I'm gonna arm it. Pushing that right stick. Look at that turn. I love how fast it turns when it's in manual mode. And we're just gonna taxi back over, and this time we'll take off in full manual mode, and we'll see how far up, see how far it takes to get it to go up in the air in manual mode, because we have much more up and down here. Much more throw in this tail. So let's go ahead and come around. It looks like it's kind of sticking in position. Hopefully that's not a problem. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead full throttle here, pulling back all the way back on the stick. Wow, big. Let's check out the durability test. It hit the curb. Okay, so don't forget to disarm your plane. Check, we got a little bit of damage right there on the wing where it hit the curb, but otherwise she looks okay. This landing gear looks like it flattened out a little bit, but you can kind of bend that back into place. So let's go ahead and taxi back over. You know, the trouble with today is the wind is coming from this direction. If you're a brand new beginner, you're learning how to fly this plane, you want to take off nose into the wind. So I mean, it would be super sketchy for me to take off this direction because I have all these trees right here. However, let's just try that. Why not? Let's go ahead and arm it. And like I said, we're gonna try to take off this time. And this may be disaster right here. I don't know if we should do this, but we're gonna give it the old college try, right? Full throttle, baby. Wow, way faster up in the air this time. Probably like, oh no. All right, let's go ahead and switch into stability mode there. Low to the ground, man, that was tough. That's how it stalled out last time, but we're about 3/4 throttle right now. We made it for that sketchy takeoff. And that's what happens, guys. Like, that is RC Airplane 101 right there. Some days you just have multiple sketchy takeoffs. So I'm gonna kill the throttle. Let's check out this glide ratio here. Looks pretty good. Almost like 0 airspeed into the wind. You know, I probably have like a 15-mile-an-hour wind right behind me right here. So that's a lot for this little plane. So, you know, take this with a grain of salt, guys. I'm kind of showing you like how much this plane can handle. I think there's water right below the plane right there. So I'm just gonna kind of creep in right here. I'm almost like crabbing into the wind. I was so surprised that it did a knife edge earlier. That was cool. Now low to the ground, low throttle right here. This is really helping me not stall and crash to the ground. You know, just earlier we were flying in full manual, and that gave you a good indication of how twitchy and kind of hard to fly at low throttle this plane is without stability. So right here, man, I'm able to just go super low. Look at that. Oh, crashed again. These pesky weeds. Okay, let's check it out. Let's climb in here and get the plane. Don't forget to disarm your motor. Looks good. So close to the blackberries over there. I'm really trying not to crash into blackberries today. So, you know, I was kind of wondering like if this plane could take off in this gravel out here, and this is a perfect opportunity to go ahead and try out the landing gear. And the wheel size doesn't look very big on this plane, so you know they're probably maybe 1.5 inches to 1.25 inches size, but it's pretty rough out here. People have been doing donuts everywhere. It's kind of an abandoned little parking lot here, and I'm gonna go ahead and arm the motor, and I'm gonna take off in stability mode into the wind, because, well, you saw what happened with full throttle low to the ground in manual mode. It kind of got all squirrely and crashed on us earlier. So let's go ahead and full throttle there. Oh man, she's really trying. Just barely, but it did take off the gravel. That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. Now you could probably try to land on the gravel, right? As long as I don't crash that somewhere out in the field in the blackberries again. But what I was trying to show you earlier was like how slow it would go kind of in stability mode, like low to the ground flying. Like that's some of the funnest, coolest things about RC airplane, like line of sight flying, low to the ground, baby, low throttle, 2 to 3 feet off the ground, just kind of cruising by yourself. Gotta love that. Please don't crash in the berries. There we go. Those blackberry vines are notorious. If you crash in those, you definitely need a machete and some leather gloves to get in there. Maybe some jeans, which I don't have today. So yeah, in stability mode, it turns like an Escalade in stability mode. It has a much like bigger sweeping turn to it with, you know, that's full rudder right there. Just a big wide circle. If I flip into manual mode, let me show you there how fast it turns. Now it's like wanting to get into a corkscrew out in the field. Okay, went down again. Okay, so another tip for beginners, if you crash out into a field like this, don't take your eyes off the direction that your plane went down in the grass, because if you take your eyes off which direction for a second, you may lose your plane or have a hard time finding it. Always kind of keep your eyes exactly on the spot where you went in, and 9 times out of 10 you'll find your airplane. Okay, so just a little bit of damage from today's flight test, a little bit on the wing there, a little bit on the front nose. And one of the things we haven't done in this review is an old school hand toss. So I'm gonna see how it handles a hand toss. Always do it into the wind, obviously, but I'm gonna go ahead and give it a good old college try again. So we're gonna arm the motor here, and we're gonna arm the motor here. There we go. Okay, full throttle, here we go. Into the wind. Nice and level. All right, it will hand toss. It will take off out of the parking lot. It will barely take off out of the rocks, but there you go. You know, it seems like this battery got a little bit low as far as kind of being able to handle a high throttle situation in manual. I don't know if I can blame it on the battery or I can blame it on the flight controller. In a low throttle situation, it seems to have a really nice, kind of small CG on the flight controller, so that it might need to be softened up a little bit in the tune. A little less aggressive on the gyro for manual mode. It seems like the gyro is still affecting a little bit of the manual mode flight. And you know, I can take it up real high again. And right now I'm flying in stability mode. Look at that. Hands off, wings level. It just goes in a straight line. Super cool. So just enough throttle to keep that nose up is what you want. And if you see something coming, throttle up and pull back on the stick to fly over it. Now let's go ahead, kind of full throttle here. You know, I only have a 2S, like 700 milliamp battery, so try to get all the altitude I can get here. Way up there, baby. This reminds me of my old school days with my Cox Easy Bee. You guys remember that one? You probably have to be in your 40s to remember that. All right, here we go. Going into manual. We're way up there now. You guys probably can't even see it. So now let's try that loop again. Nice. Little barrel roll. Okay, she's not getting into a spin this time. I'm way out there. Hopefully you guys can see a little bit of that. So what happened earlier is that if you switch into manual mode, I got to give you a tip. If you have this plane, have your throttle pretty high when you do. I'm at 3/4 to almost full throttle in manual mode, because otherwise when you get to a low throttle situation in manual, it kind of wants to corkscrew on you. That's like a classic crash for a plane or a helicopter, to corkscrew right into the ground, nose first. But again, like, this plane's handling it. Let's get the nose into the wind and go for a loop. Oh, it missed the loop that time. I think we've got a all right, I'm gonna go back to stability there. So see right there, try to get into a corkscrew, and I switch back in stability, and the plane is fine. So I'm gonna, you know, highly suggest that if you're a beginner, don't forget your bailout switch, because this will really help you. So I'm gonna walk back to the parking lot over here. We're gonna try to land this baby. Looks like some rain clouds are coming in or something here. Hopefully the wind's not too bad on my mic, you guys. Let me know how the mic's doing. I do have a wind screen on it. All right, so kind of, you know, this is not really a flying field, so I'm gonna look for a place to land. I'm gonna get it nose into the wind. Low airspeed here, almost like hovering in. All right, right on the ground right there. That was a quick little landing, so that was a lot of fun. I would say this is not like perfect, but it is fun. You just have to watch out in manual mode that you're not at a low throttle without a good bit of speed. So there is kind of a high stall point on the low speed airspeed in manual mode. So yeah, keep that in mind. And that's about the end of this review. I'm covered in sticky stuff or something on my legs from this field out here. There's some kind of nasty weeds out there, but that's the way it goes in the world of RC airplanes. Sometimes you have to walk fields. Just bring your snake boots, guys, and you'll be fine. But you can check out the link down below if you like this one, and please do subscribe on the channel because I have more RC reviews coming up in the future. You always get to see what's new right here on the Drone Camps channel. They send us all the cool stuff. Take care, guys, and I will see you on the next one.